Did you know that as students of NIC, we all directly benefit from enrolling in a public post-secondary institution? You see, our tuition rates are kept low through state and federal funding along with local property tax dollars. These are the same supports that K-12 school districts also rely on in order to operate. In my role as the accounting manager for the Coeur d'Alene Public School District, I am in the unique position of being a product of K-12 public education, benefiting from public education through my enrollment at NIC, and also living and breathing public school finance every day in my work. At my work, we're constantly calculating the costs of our programs, but the truth is, the final price of education is decided at the local level, and we all have a role to play in deciding what our community schools look like. I'm going to be telling you a little bit today about how Idaho funds education. I'm going to cover the role of public schools in our community, how Idaho funds education, and how the community decides the final price of education through local control and levies. Before we can talk about what the cost is, we have to understand what exactly it is we're paying for. So let's begin. A well-funded education benefits not only the students who are enrolled in it, it also benefits an entire community. Our public schools offer free, quality education that aligns with state and national standards. Despite the bad rap, our local schools are actually doing pretty good. Per the district website, Coeur d'Alene students are currently ranked number 2 in English language arts, math, and science in their test scores when compared with other districts of our size in the state. Our 8th grade test scores are also ranked highest in the nation. Students at our local schools also have the awesome opportunities to pursue academic and extracurricular options, such as dual enrollment for pursuing college credits before they even graduate high school, and activities such as debate, band, and of course the ever popular athletics. Another thing that the students get to do, if they would like, is pursue their studies in career technical education through enrollment at K-Tech. Did you know that K-Tech is actually funded by Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, and Lakeland school districts? At a time of extreme growth in our community, it is so important to have these next generation of tradesmen and women honing their craft, because we know that the work is always going to be found here. It's so hard to find a good tradesman. You need your water heater fixed in the pinch. That happened to me. It took over a week to get my water heater replaced. Even if you didn't participate in public education, or you don't have kids in the public education system, it's a guarantee that you're going to interact with somebody who does. Let's think about the nurses who work in our hospitals, the tradesmen who are building your homes, and the staff that are working in our assisted living facilities, who are taking care of our elderly, that will most likely be taking care of us as well when we're old. Let's think about that. They all most likely participated in a public education system. Now that we know what we're paying for, let's talk about how Idaho funds their portion. For the most part, Idaho covers most of the costs at the state level for the districts, but it does not wholly fund them. Per Idaho Ed News, Idaho ranks dead last in how much money it funds per student. That's 50th place out of all 50 states. As it stands, the allocations that Idaho gives to districts like Coeur d'Alene only cover 75% of operating costs. Article 9 of our state constitution says that it is the job of the legislature to fund free and public schools. So you might be asking yourself, if that's what they're supposed to do, and they're only funding at 75%, how is this constitutional? The answer is, unlike some states that we might be familiar with, Idaho didn't design its education funding to be funded 100% at the state level. Rather, the intention is that for the local communities to partner alongside their school districts and bridge that gap in funding through property taxes and levies. This brings me to my final point. The role of the community in deciding what our schools look like through local control and levies. Idaho Idaho is a unique state in that the individual community gets to decide what our schools look like, and they do this through a levy vote. Unlike NIC, whose property taxes are guaranteed year after year, local K-12 school districts have to put their local funding to vote every 2 years in a levy. This is both a blessing and a curse. A blessing because it keeps our school districts accountable to the community, and a curse because it seems like our school districts are constantly asking for money. Per Idaho Ed News, 89 out of 115 school districts in Idaho operate with a levy, and they've been doing it this way for decades. In fact, Coeur d'Alene School District has had a levy in place since 1986. These levies are what fund those amazing things I was talking about in my first point. Those state championship basketball teams in K-Tech. For how vital levies are to our community, they really don't get a lot of awareness or a lot of votes. At our last election in May, there are only 42% of voters who are eligible to vote cast ballots, and that was one of the higher turnouts. The election prior to that, 27%. As you leave here today, please keep in mind that these levy elections are one of the few times that we as a community get to exercise our local control. And so no matter what side of the aisle you stand on the topic, everybody should be coming to vote. The final price of education is decided at the local level, and we all have a role to play in education and deciding what our schools look like. I hope I've given you a better understanding of the role of education in our community, how Idaho funds education, and how this community gets to determine the final price of education. It all really comes down to one question: is it worth our investment? Thank you. Any questions?